Okay, welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for being here. We talk so much about what the voters think, and we get a chance to actually hear from you now. So just to start off, Charlie, why don't you start? We'll go down the line. Everybody say your name, where you're from, and what you would be doing on a Saturday if you weren't here with us today.
My name is Charlie Hinderletter. I'm here from St. Louis, Missouri. And after this, I'll be heading to my mom's birthday party, possibly just a little bit late.
Oh, well, sorry, Mom. Brittany?
My name's Brittany. I'm from Florissant, Missouri. And on a Saturday, I would be spending time with my kids.
Christy?
My name's Christy Fischel. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, and I probably would just be sitting on the couch if I wasn't here, so.
Excellent. Watching reruns of Face the Nation. Renee?
Absolutely.
Renee Morales. If I were home I'm from Wentzville, Missouri, and if I were home today, I'd be yard work.
Patrick Tucker. I'm from St. Louis. If I were home, I'd be working or I'd be watching the baseball game today. So.
Wida?
My name is Wida Soggs. If I were home, well, first of all, I'm from University City. And if I were home, I'd probably be fixing lunch for my children, for my grandchildren.
My name is Melissa Doss. I'm from O'Fallon, Missouri, and if I were home, I'd be hanging out with my daughter.
Steve?
Steve George, and I'm from St. Charles, Missouri. And if I were home, I'd try and be getting out on the golf course today.
Michael?
Michael Tramble from St. Louis, Missouri. If I were home, I would be spending time with my daughter and son.
I'm Thomas Webster. I'm from Maryland Heights, Missouri. And if I weren't here, I would probably just be looking at what Trump's recently said.
Bess?
I'm Bess Marshall. I'm from Creve Coeur, Missouri, and I'd probably also be working out in the yard.
Nick?
I'm Nick Riggio. If I was off today, I'd probably be surfing the internet or just trying to relax a little bit, and I'm from the greater St. Louis area.
Alex?
I'm Alex Ronks. I'm from St. Charles, Missouri, and if I wasn't here today, I'd be playing video games.
Excellent. Which one?
Assassin's Creed right now.
The first one or the most recent one?
Syndicate.
All right, got that important information out of the way. All right. Melissa, I'll start with you. Give me a word or a phrase to describe this election.
A mess.
Wida?
What was it?
Give me a word or a phrase to describe this election.
Hard, devastating, scary, depressing, anything bad, any word you can think of. It's just horrible. It's so depressing that I didn't watch the campaign. It's very depressing.
Patrick?
Surprising.
Renee? Word or a phrase?
The end of politics as we know it in America.
Christy?
Worrying.
Brittany?
A disgrace.
A disgrace. Charlie?
Depressing.
Steve?
Wretched.
Michael?
Easy choice.
Thomas?
Kindergarten WWE.
Yes.
I'd say concerning.
Lesser of the evils.
Alex?
It's a circus.
A circus. Renee, you said end of politics as we know it. What do you mean by that?
Regardless of what party I think you're a member of or that you affiliate with, what this election has done has undermined the definition of both parties. I don't know what it means to be a Democrat. I do not know what it means for Republicans to be Republican, because the candidates that they have before them to choose from don't represent true Democratic policy ideals or true Republican policy ideals. I mean, a Republican is no longer a Republican based on fiscal conservatism, and a Democrat is no longer a Democrat based on, I think some of the social agendas that aren't going to be enacted by the Democratic candidate.
Who else feels that way about the lack of... Go ahead, Christy.
Yeah, I think especially for the Republican Party, I think that what's out there now is very different from what true conservatives would want to see and would expect to see. I'm not really sure how we got here. I'm not really sure how. I mean, at the beginning of the primary season, everyone thought that Trump's candidacy was a bit of a joke. And I remember seeing people on political shows laughing about it and saying, "Come on, he's not gonna get the nomination." And here we are. So it's I think it's hard for true conservatives to follow him.
Are you? Who are you? Are you a true conservative? Are you a conservative? Who are you? Where do you stand on this?
I consider myself an independent. I generally vote Republican based on my thoughts about economic and being conservative economically. but socially more liberal. So I would consider myself an independent, I guess.
Well, let's go down the line and see where we all line up at the moment. Steve, who are you for? Or if you're not for somebody, are you? Let's raise our hands first. Who is everybody who's going to vote? Please raise your hand. All right, let's run down the line very quickly. Steve, who are you going to vote for?
Right now, it would be Donald Trump, but I'm waiting to hear what Hillary has to say in the debates.
In the debate. How about you, Michael?
Hillary Clinton.
Thomas?
I'm torn between Jill Stein and Hillary Clinton.
Yes.
I think Hillary Clinton.
Nick?
I think I'm in between right now. I was leaning one way or another, but now I don't know yet.
Which way were you previously leaning?
Well, I'm a traditional Southern Democrat, and basically I kind of like to support the party, but this party now is not what it used to be.
That was Renee's point, yeah.
I don't really know what they stand for anymore. I like to think of it in this kind of a way, is that when I grew up, I'd like to think of myself as a JFK type of Democrat. And I think of it as a super highway, and you have, say, 8 lanes. And the Democratic Party, when I was younger, was like in the fast lane on one side, and the Republican Party was in the slower lane on the same side. Now, it seems like the Republican Party is in the same lane the original Democratic Party was, but the Democratic Party is going the other way, on the other side of the highway.
How about you, Alex? Where are you on this election?
Hillary Clinton.
Charlie?
I know I won't be voting for Donald Trump, but I haven't figured out what I'm going to be voting for.
Brittany?
Hillary Clinton.
Christy?
I feel the same as Charlie. I won't be voting for Trump, but I will be a reluctant Hillary voter if I vote for her.
So you're in the not Trump, but not for Hillary.
Right.
Renee?
Exactly the same. Not Trump, but I cannot commit my vote to Hillary at this time.
All right, so there are 3 of you in that camp. Patrick?
Clinton or Johnson?
Wida?
I'm for Trump. I'm disappointed with a lot of things, but I'm for a lot that he does stand for. So I'm for Trump. The Democratic Party, to me, are far from what America used to be like. You know what I mean? I mean, they are for one world rule. And, you know, my kids didn't want me to come because they were afraid of me being in trouble, with my opinion. But I believed in the inherent Word of God. And I don't know if they realize forcing Armageddon sooner is good or not. And they are for everything that, according to Scripture, is going to bring about Armageddon.
The Democrats are for that.
The Democrats. And although, I just want to say one other thing, although Donald Trump does a lot of things I disagree with, I don't think he says what he really means. Okay, what people think of him is hating Hispanics, blacks, and so forth. I don't think he does. I think and Muslims. I think he comes across as that way because he doesn't say specifically what he really means. And he means the bad. And there's bad in everybody.
We're going to turn back to Donald Trump in a moment. Thank you, Wida. Melissa?
I'm undecided. Right now, if I were to vote, I wouldn't vote for either one of them. Definitely not Clinton, but I'm not sold on Trump either.
Okay, so for the 3 of you who are in the not Trump camp, were you ever in the possibly Trump camp?
No.
So he'd always lost you. Is that true for you too as well?
I think during the primary season, I at least gave him a chance to see what he had to say, but he never sold me.
I was never going to vote for Trump.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. There's been a video that was released recently. How many of you know about it or have seen it? So that's everyone. So Alex, give me a word or a phrase to describe your reaction to that video.
Disheartening.
Nick?
I haven't seen it yet, so I've just heard sound bites here and there and little snippets about it. So I really can't say until I can pass a good judgment on it, until I hear enough of it.
All right, we'll come back to you in a second. Nick Best?
Well, unfortunately, I think they got caught saying things that are probably said a whole lot more often than we know.
Thomas?
It's absolutely disgusting and deplorable.
It confirms for me that he is a misogynist.
Steve, you're a possible Trump supporter.
Ancient history, 2005. I'd hate to think some of the things that I've done in my past that have come up, that could come up in an investigation like that. I think that it does point to his lack of civility. That's concerning, and that's why I would give Hillary a chance. But she has exactly the same kinds of things in her history that concern me.
So you think they're equivalent, that Hillary Clinton has something that's equivalent to what was seen in the Trump video?
Absolutely, in terms of character.
What would it be for you that you would put your finger on that?
Benghazi for one, the email scandal for another, her lack of taking responsibility for her own actions, her duplicity with the females that accused her husband and during his reign.
Charlie?
I think the comments were abhorrent and reprehensible.
Yeah, I think the comments were very disgusting. I mean, nothing Trump says makes me feel like maybe I could get used to this guy. I'm 100% against Trump.
Christy?
I think it was disgusting, but like Bess mentioned, I don't think it's surprising. I think it's typical.
Renee?
I agree with your name?
Michael?
Steve.
Oh, Steve.
In that it is ancient history in regards to, it's quite some time back, but it's a reflection of his character.
It's pretty vulgar and crass, and I'm surprised that people are shocked by it, because if you listen to what he said on the Howard Stern show for years, this is just evidence of how he thinks and how he talks about people.
Rita?
Well, I feel that in spite of all of what the horrible things about him, I think in terms of the party, and I think which would be better, to have Hillary or him, even though I don't like what he says or does. But I think voting for the party is important, because everything I think the Republican, most things they stand for, I think will make us not only safer, but freer in the country.
Mm-hmm. Melissa?
I'm mixed between feeling it's inappropriate, but then I also think of locker room talk. But I have to agree with Steve that when I first heard it, first thing I thought of, well, isn't Bill Clinton the same type of man? That was the first thing I thought of.
Did anybody here have their mind changed about how they're going to vote based on this latest video?
No.
Did anyone here have their opinion of Donald Trump changed one way or the other based on this current video?
No.
So essentially for everybody here, this new revelation that's getting a lot of chatter might as well not have happened.
No, that's not true at all. There was no chance I was ever going to vote for Trump. I consider him to be a racist and misogynist. I'm a somewhat reluctant Hillary Clinton supporter. I really love Bernie Sanders. This video makes me want to get on Facebook a little bit more and knock on some doors. I'm that a little bit more enthused about Hillary, because I think Donald Trump is the really evil part of the lesser of two evils. So this just pushes that opinion a little bit further.
Let me switch to Hillary Clinton and something that's been in the news with her recently. There were some emails leaked that had some of the speeches that she gave to some of these Wall Street banks that you may have heard about. And one of the speeches that she gave to on Wall Street, she was talking about getting things done in Washington. And she said, but if everybody's watching, everybody being the public, if everybody's watching, all of the backroom discussions and the deals, then people get a little nervous, to say the least. So you need both a public and a private position. Charlie, what does that mean to you, that quote?
I think it's just the reality of kind of how the sausage gets made, and that you're going to have the public statements and the public policy positions, but there has to be room for negotiation as well.
Thomas, you're shaking your head.
Those private conversations, when you're not being transparent with the public, it is just a form of lying and is a tool for corruption. Frankly, I think if Hillary Clinton were to do everything that she has said she would do in the campaign, really fighting climate change, really fighting against money in politics, she would 100% have my vote. But it's what she says behind closed doors that now have been officially released that I don't trust her to do that.
Anybody else feel that way? I see some heads nodding. Melissa, we'll start with
Yeah,
you.
I think that when I saw that statement, I was not surprised by it, and I would actually be surprised if anybody was surprised by that, because I think Hillary Clinton is all about Hillary Clinton. But she puts on this front that she cares about women, that she cares about minorities, and she doesn't. Everything's about her. And to kind of piggyback a little bit off of what Michael said about Donald Trump being racist and sexist, I think he's an elitist. I don't think he's so much as a racist or sexist. For him, it's about what can you do for me? If you can't do anything for me, then I don't need you. So that's kind of, I view him more as an elitist. Hillary Clinton just puts on a mask in front of all of us. And she, in my opinion, she plays the American public like we're idiots.
Who else has a strong reaction? Rita?
One thing about Hillary, not only does she lie about everything, but she does things, in my opinion, are very dangerous for the country. I was really upset when I heard that she sold, I think, half of America's uranium to Russia. And how much, you haven't heard that?
Well, go ahead, Rita, continue.
But anyway, but there are a lot of things, and another one really, to me, dangerous thing, and I think that's why a lot of emails were destroyed. Because in them, I think she has done things made businesses with other countries for gain for herself.
Let me ask, Alex, you had your hand raised.
I think Clinton is disingenuous, to say the least. I stopped short from calling her a liar because that implies she has an intent to bring harm to people. I think she says what she thinks people wants to hear. I think, ultimately, I think she means well, but I think that she's too disingenuous, and I have an unfavorable opinion of her.
What she does have is a track record as Secretary of State, as First Lady, and as a United States Senator. My support for Hillary Clinton is somewhat lackluster, but according to what she's actually done and voted for, as a former Bernie Sanders supporter, the record indicates that she's progressive enough for me to feel comfortable. I'm sorry, I forgot your...
Charlie.
Yeah, what he was saying about, hey, this is how laws get done, there's a lot of compromise and backroom talk. You know, whether you're a political hero as Barack Obama or Ronald Reagan, I'm a student of history, of course that is the case. Every American politician, as far as I'm concerned, all of them are to some degree disingenuous, maybe even to some degree lie. So I have a little bit more patience with that, I guess.
Brittany, are you going to watch the debate?
Yes.
What are you looking for in the debate from any of the candidates?
Well, I think I'm going to feel a little uncomfortable given the video that was just released for Hillary. You know, she still has to shake his hand, Trump's hand, and, you know, debate with him, and hopefully he won't, you know, keep stopping her while she's talking. So I'm just, I'm uncomfortable to watch the debate, but I'm going to watch it, of course, but yeah.
Explain a little bit more why you feel uncomfortable about her shaking his hand.
Well, because what he says about women and how he feels about women and the disgusting remarks that he says about women and what he's going to do. And, you know, I mean, I can't respect a man like that.
Steve, you mentioned that you were looking for Hillary Clinton to maybe offer something during the debate. What are you looking for?
The one thing that she said early on in her campaign that sparked my interest, that I even hinted that I might be able to vote for Hillary, is when she said in the first 30 days of her presidency she would propose an amendment to the Constitution that would reverse Citizens United. That's a hot button issue for me, because I think the individual in the United States, as a conservative, is more important than corporations and labor unions and nonprofits that do hit jobs on politicians have become more powerful than the individual voice. And that's what intrigued me about Hillary's comments, which was surprising because I think she's very well supported by Wall Street.
I'm going to jump in here just to say, you're a conservative, I'm a progressive. We completely 1,000% agree on this point.
Everybody's nodding their head. They all agree with this idea.
Citizens United has to go.
Everybody feels that way about the role of money. And
Yes.
And I'm surprised because I think, and from my perspective, that's a conservative ideal as opposed to a progressive. I'm sure the progressives would disagree.
Bess, what are you looking for in the debate?
I would really like to hear them discuss more a wider variety of issues. I think they've focused on just a couple and a lot on this sort of scandalous stuff, but I would really like to hear what their thoughts are on things like the Paris Climate Agreement, things like civil rights for different communities, including racial groups, religious groups, the LGBT community, the disabled, the mentally ill. I would like to hear what they feel the pros and cons of the Affordable Care Act are, because I don't think it's going to be eliminated lock, stock, and barrel, or whatever the little buzzword is. But I think that it will probably be adjusted, and I'd like to hear where they say things need to change. I'd like to hear their views on education, like where we are, where we have come after the No Child Left Behind. I think there's just a lot of issues that they haven't given us much information about.
Let me ask you all this question. Do you think the debate is going to change your mind at all in this election? Is anybody's mind maybe going to be changed by what they see? Four of you, okay. Why don't we hear from you first, Renee?
It depends on how Hillary addresses some issues about her character, her trustworthiness. She needs to tell the American people, why should we trust her, given her track record with fudging the truth? If she can address that in a way that makes me feel more comfortable with her as my candidate, she could have my vote.
Character for you, Nick?
Well, let me jump back a little bit. I want to talk just 1 minute about, we're talking about what we see on TV and the deals that are made in closed doors, behind closed doors. I've worked in government a long time. I've worked in all different aspects of politics and other things too. And what we see is not what really happens. Literally all these deals are made behind closed doors. That's the only way anything can get done. And it goes all the way back to the Cuban Missile Crisis. I believe a coffee shop was where war was averted by two people who could speak directly to and from their presidents. So there's a lot there that we don't even see. Okay, and far as the debates go, I think I'm just looking for seeing who fails more than not who comes out ahead. It seems that way. And I also feel that we're not voting for these candidates because I've got reservations and a gut feeling that whoever wins, neither one would ever fill out their term. I think we're going to be voting for the vice presidents.
Explain that a little bit more. What do you mean? The health or?
Well, I think possibly health on one side, and the other side maybe could even go as far as impeachment for running wild with too many things.
And who, just to be absolutely clear, who do you put in each of those categories?
Well, you know, Hillary for health and Trump for running wild a little bit.
All right, I'll ask a question now to all of you. There's a crisis. It's 2017. There's a crisis in the White House. Who among you feels safer if Hillary Clinton is president? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now, if Donald Trump is president, who feels safer? Nick and Steve. Melissa, you're just in peril.
Yeah, I just think both of them scare me to death. I think either one of them would be absolutely awful. I mean, Hillary does have more experience, so I do put that in her corner that she has a lot more experience, although it's been tainted by a lot of questionable activity. But both of them scare me.
Let me ask, go ahead, Thomas.
If I could jump in. As a progressive, I want to vote against more war. I want to vote for policies that are strength through peace, not peace through strength. And I don't have a plausible candidate to vote for. The only way I could vote my conscience would be to throw it to Jill Stein And I don't trust either of them to really make the right decisions in the room.
Steve.
Well, I have to really disagree because we have Hillary's track record of being very hawkish. And we also have Donald Trump, who, while he is less than civil, and we can all agree, I think, that perhaps he says things that are very offensive, he knows how to get advice. And I think our military advice is not to go to war. I think our military advice is to have peace through strength. And I think he would be the one that would enact the policies and the posturing of the United States in order to keep us safe and to keep us out of war.
Who, by show of hands, would rather see the vice presidential candidates of the two tickets at the top of the ticket than the person who's at the top of the ticket? All right, hands down. That was a midway hand.
I think Tim Kaine would be a good candidate. I think Hillary is a good candidate as well. But I don't like Trump. I don't really like Mike Pence. But although Mike Pence, I feel, has done some less than stellar things as the governor of Indiana, I think he is marginally better than what we know about Trump.
By show of hands, who would like to see, if you could do it, a third term of Barack Obama? So that's all but 4 of you. So why, Patrick, a third term of Barack Obama?
Oh, I think, well, we have some sort of, there's less uncertainty than with if Trump were elected. I really worry about the tenor of Washington if Clinton will be elected. Not because of anything with Clinton, just that I feel that a lot of Tea Party Republicans or far-right Republicans in the House might go for impeachment. There's a little less transparency with Clinton than with Obama. And just, I think there's more certainty with Obama.
Charlie, why no Obama?
Well, I think he's conducted his administration with a lot of integrity. I don't think his policies have been the best for the United States.
Which, in what way? Foreign policy, domestic policy?
Primarily domestic policy in terms of the economy. I think there are a lot of things that he's done, particularly through rulemaking, through the power of the executive branch, that really haven't been the best for our economy.
I completely disagree. He's the only president who's ever lowered the deficit by over $1 trillion. And he's had to take this executive order route to get things done because of an obstructionist Congress. There has never been a Congress more dedicated to not doing anything than this Congress. I think a third term of Obama, even if he had to executive order his way through it, would be so much better for the country than what Congress has been for our country.
Steve, when was the last time you voted and felt great about your presidential vote?
Ronald Reagan, because he was on the positive side. I think that politicians tap into the 2 ways to affect human beings, and that is perceived benefit and fear. I think he was more about the perceived benefit, about what America could be. I think what we're seeing in this election especially is, I'm afraid of Donald Trump, I'm afraid of what Hillary's going to do, and they're working on our basest emotions of anger and fear, and that's what concerns me most about this election.
Is Donald Trump, you're a conservative, is Donald Trump a conservative?
No, I think he's more for Donald Trump than anything else. He's just the better side of a bad coin.